Hi there YouTube, Extreme Trains here. So in this video, as you've probably guessed by the thumbnail, we're taking a look at a highly anticipated item. It is the classic James. I don't know what else to say. There's not really much to talk about. They do seem to be being released extremely early here in Australia at BW. It shows they are produced though, so they're all ready to go, which is why I don't quite understand why the pictures that were shown after Toy Fair were like the renders of the prototypes, because clearly the real things exist. So that's enough talking. What are we waiting for? Let's do it. Alright, here is Classics James. Classics James. Although Classics James becomes a milk tank and not a tar wagon, a choice. Again, very similar to Thomas's box. You've got the 80th logo on top, 80th logo here. Classic James, James Classico. Again, we've got the picture of Thomas CGI here and also here. And then you come around to the top and you can see we've got a picture of the CGI James there for everyone to see. Same on this side. Again, picture of a James again in CGI. And then at the back, a waste of time because there's literally nothing to see there. If you want more of an in-depth view of the box, look at the Thomas review. All right, let's open him. All right, here he is, big red out of his packaging. Now I haven't seen James again. I've seen it, but I haven't actually opened the All Engines Go version. So let's do a spin around of this quote-unquote classic style James. All right, let's come in on that face. Beautiful, stunning, love it. Don't know why he's looking the same direction as Thomas. It'll be interesting to see if they all look the same direction. Perhaps so they're like looking out of the packaging when they're in their box because they're like that. It looks a bit funky from the side, but from the front, chef's kiss. Absolute chef's kiss. Love it. What else can we see here? White running board. It's got a really interesting texture too. You can like feel the paint on there. And we have painted buffers on the back. No buffers on the back. But certainly we've got them here on the front. Fantastic looking there. We come around to the side. This is where some of the proportions start to get weird because again, we're using the All Engines Go chassis, so it's quite large. But you can see we've got all that detail here. We've got the printed on and also relief hold rails, grab rails. Disappointing that they printed it up to here, but then didn't just go the final distance and print that little bit there. Same with the gold here. Again, it's quite muted. The red is brighter than Thomas. So if we look at Thomas for a second, you can see that this is the kind of James red versus the red that's used on Thomas. But again, it would have been nice to have that in chrome, but I don't hate the gold by any means. And again, there you go. You can see there's the little switch. We're going for that riveted detail. So that's kind of your season 24 right at the end of the CGI era. Come around to the back, we've got this big hollow space, which is a bit unusual, but I mean, cool. You could put some little figures in there or something, you know. Again, we've got, and I didn't point this out on Thomas, but rather than just being printed, it's a separate plastic piece that's actually black that forms the cab roof, which is interesting. And then again, yeah, we can see we've got all the usual James details, and then we come to the bottom, and this is very interesting. So we've got these little, you can see it's an add-on part that's allowed them to put on his leading pony truck. So that's, again, harkening back to that kind of the current Tommy James, I think, maybe does this. I'm not sure. But again, kind of, you know, I think the Edward and stuff do that, where they have that little fake wheel sitting up the front. Then we've got his main wheels here. Again, we've got the same deal as Thomas, where you can see we've got, this is actually a separate plastic piece in a very slightly different kind of gunmetal gray color. And you got the wheels here and then the brand new coupling rod. Then also this little addition part at the back, which I think is just so that his coupler can sit there. So yes, quite a different beast and a very good face. Then we come to the tender. Now, some people have said I think this is the same tender perhaps that was used for the All Engines Go James. I don't know. I haven't reviewed that or had a lot of detailed look at it. It does have a removable coal, which is fine. I mean, I don't love what are clearly meant to be the finger holes to allow you to do that. I think they look a bit silly, but in terms of how the removable coal looks, I actually don't think it looks too bad. And again, you can see we've got these details printed on the tender. Come around to the back, nothing else, nothing really on the bottom. But what we are doing is, and this is perhaps why they re-engineered the truck chassis, is that you've got the same chassis. So this is the troublesome truck and also the milk van, presumably, chassis on the tenders. So they don't have their own chassis. They've got the same chassis as all the others, which is that slightly more detailed version with the rounded wheels, but it is obviously quite small. So there's that. And then, yes, the mysterious milk tanker. So again, built on the same chassis as the troublesome trucks and also as the tenders. Again, I think this is a fun design. The proportions of it are whack. The wheels are kind of like not proportional to how big the tanker is. Like, it doesn't quite feel like the proportions are right. Not that they've ever been right. But it's interesting that they would do this when I would have thought that with James, you know, you would do a tar wagon, even just a black. But you've just got this like white wagon. It doesn't say anything on it. And then we also don't have any printing on these, you know, ropes or securing irons or whatever these are meant to be, cables. So it's certainly a nice piece of rolling stock. It just feels really random to include with James because I just don't really, this is just not giving me classic James energy. But let's put him together and see how this proportion issue kind of plays out. Let's see, the long coupling. So the first thing you'll notice is, yeah, the long all engines go coupling with the tenders looks weird. I mean, it already did look weird when they made the tenders kind of separable anyway, but it does kind of make him look like he's pulling along his tender as a carriage rather than a truck, because then again, the connection between the trucks is really close and then the tender's really far away. So yeah, that's a bit naff. In terms of the actual proportions though of the tender and James, this actually I don't think looks too bad. I mean, obviously it's very cartoonish, but I don't think it's any worse than the weird proportions we got for the Thomas Wooden Railway James, although he's one of my not favourite Thomas Wooden Railway 2022 versions. But yeah, I think the big issue is just that this is too long. It really should be that shorter connection because this is this looks really weird. Looks really, really weird. But let's do some comparisons. So again, this is the previous anniversary edition, I think, of James, and this is in the old Trackmaster 2 style. And again, you can see the size increase is massive. So not only has the tender's gotten bigger, or at least it's gotten taller, even though it's about the same length, but certainly James has got a lot longer and a lot taller. Now, what's interesting is I'm just pulling these apart, the difference in a tender separation between these Jameses is actually very, very minimal. Like, if you line up the back of the tenders there and you line up James, it's only probably 2 or 3 millimeters difference, but for some reason I think this looks worse because it's very empty. You've got this empty space here, which is, you know, accurate to James, but makes it look like he's further away, and you've also got a bit more emptiness here, whereas this was all filled in, much more filled in, and obviously there was no cab previously. So it didn't quite feel as far away as this one does. But again, you can just see like the details that we get on this new one are just there's so much more going on, particularly the cab area, I think, is a real standout. And obviously the front, like again, like this was again a terrible James face in my view. It was very much like the Thomas face. And again, the shape of this James was also wrong because he got wider at the smoke box, which is not right. Whereas at least this one, yeah, it's huge and the face is huge. It's all very huge, but it keeps that correct proportion of being slim all the way along. Plus you get that front detailing, which looks really, really good. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You win some, you lose some perhaps. But yeah, overall, I think this one is certainly objectively speaking, it's an upgrade. Is it perfect? No, of course not. But, you know, this toy line has never been perfect and known for being particularly scale accurate or well proportioned. So we've changed the weirdness of proportions in this line, but I think we've done that for the pursuit of more detail. Right, so what do I think about the Classics James? As I said, I'll show a video of him running with all the other engines I've collected very, very soon, but not in this video. I think he's pretty cool. He's certainly warmed on me once I've got him in hand. He is huge, but the face, I think, redeems it. I do the extra details. The truck is weird inclusion. It just doesn't scream to me like it makes sense. It's a good piece of rolling stock to have. It looks very Sodor, and it's amazing that it has no branding on it, like that they didn't try and make it something. But it feels like an odd inclusion with James, but again, maybe someone will remind me of a story that I've forgotten about where that comes from. Otherwise, I think James is pretty good. Absolutely no question in my mind. He's an upgrade from the previous version of him that was based on this era of the show. But obviously it doesn't, that comes with some compromises and some trade-offs. But overall, I think he is great. If you're a James fan, he is one to collect. That's all we've got time for. Thanks very much for watching. This is Extreme Trains.